welcome to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. I'm Aarti Khaneja Parmar. A lot has been happening and not happening in the world of education post the outbreak of COVID-19 and the subsequent introduction of India's new education policy 2020. Let's take a look at some of these which make our top stories.
At Mysore University convocation, Prime Minister Modi talks up national education policy. New education policy will arrest brain drain. Pokhriyal at IIT Indore 8th convocation. 900 out of 956 seats already filled at Hindu College. Two Delhi University colleges tell court that Delhi government hasn't released fund so can't pay staff. Maharashtra likely to miss 31st October deadline for final exams due to server glitch. SIU to hold a literary festival for its silver jubilee. Tamil Nadu government to reject eminent status offer to Anna University. NEET topper from Odisha who scored a perfect 720 says studied for 15 hours daily, balanced with gaming. Delhi University second cutoff might not have seats in history honours, pol science honours and other courses. COVID bed crunch at hostels to unresponsive males at Delhi University. Gaps yet to be addressed in higher education. Delhi University applicants complained about unresponsive numbers males. NEET sees excellent turnout from Chhattisgarh and smaller regions. Reopening of schools begins in Maharashtra from October 19th. Delhi University second cutoff announced for many courses. Re-exam for students who weren't able to appear for MHCET due to power outage. Many states yet to decide school reopening dates unsure due to COVID-19 situation. LSR records highest cutoff at 100% for 3 courses. No need to spend dollars on a foreign degree anymore. Ramesh Pokhriyal. Prime Minister Modi wants Oxford, Harvard and Yale to open campuses in India. Role of NCERT is very important in implementing new education policy. NEET result 2020. Students who fail in NEET need not be disappointed. Education Minister Nishank. New technology at IIT promises to take rural development further. Second grade students successfully launch science experiment into space. Surakshit Bharat, Sashakt Bharat scholarships take new education policy goals forward. Android app launched for Leather Sector Skill Council Quality Education. For in-depth details of all stories and analysis, log on to www.edumate.tv.
These were the top headlines from the world of education. Now, let's move on to our special series, The Class of 2020, where we engage with the students, teachers, principals, and the university professors on the special topics which are creating a buzz in the post-COVID environment.
We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented situation, an unprecedented pandemic, with history being written across the geography of Mother Earth. And a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making each and every one of us rewind, rethink, re-strategize, reset, reboot before we rebuild a new future, a new normal. The only thing constant, they say, in life is change. Is uncertainty. And that's exactly what each of us are experiencing across the world, and particularly in the education world, where the challenges are unique, but so are the solutions, and so are the opportunities. And that is why we at Edumate.tv get together on platforms like these with every single stakeholder of the education ecosphere, the student, the parent, the teacher, the vice chancellor, the politician, the minister, the bureaucrat, the edupreneur, as well as the principals and the professors to try and understand what in this unique situation will be the best way forward. for our students, and for our education system as a whole. I'm pleased to announce that this program is brought to you by Education, a company that looks at education ahead. With great pride, I do announce it's powered by one of India's better universities located in Ghaziabad, the IMS. As always, we have a list of luminary speakers to talk us through our very, very poignant, important, critical topic today at a time when India needs its youth to look at thinking critically. It needs to encourage critical thinking, and that has to only happen from the professional environment. So professional environment, professional education, higher education is an absolute must in today's post-COVID environment. So what does that entail? We'll talk about that and lots more, but first, a look at our very, very welcome guests. I always say to educate better, you'd better edumate. And Edumate.tv is bringing this very special program in conjunction with IMS Ghaziabad. And now our first speaker, of course, for today to open the debate, open the topic, which almost seems not a debate, but a declamation. Professor Alok Pandey, the popular face of Professor Alok Pandey, who heads the institute. Professor, it's a season time for admission. But what's most important, it's also topical. It's topical for all of us to understand the value of higher professional education now than ever before. Your take.
We are, after 7 decades, it is still, a paper pen exam which is a norm all across India. If you look at the state of affairs in India, you have a country which is, inhabited by close to 1.4 billion people. And as of 2020, we've got close to 1,000 universities, state, central, deemed, etc. Apart from that, 155 institutes, and this includes, around 155 institutes of national importance. Despite this, as many higher education institutions, we have less than 15% people who are graduates. Well, the question arises, why education? And why higher education? Why professional higher education? We also have a new bogey being created in last 4-5 years, which is about skill-based education. And, adding, and you always say, higher ed and, you talk about higher education and you talk about higher in terms of HIGHER and HIRE. And we talk about employability. And we say that, no, not everybody is capable of higher education, so he should take up something else and he should do some kind of a skill-based course. Now, all that is under question in a country where, large number of people have no access to education. If you look at the primary, secondary, tertiary education in the world, most of the education in this world, actually, if you look at it, if I say that, there's some data with me, primary means 4 to 10 years, secondary 11 to 18 years, tertiary 19 to 21 years, and so on. We need to understand as to where we stand with the rest of the world, whether this education is adding value to society, whether this education is adding to economic growth. Education should mean that we not just produce students who become leaders for tomorrow, which is the punchline of IMS Ghaziabad also, but also who add to the productivity of the country. Are we adding enough graduates, quality graduates, or otherwise?
Abhijit wants to know, as we prepare to enter a new era of work, what will change? Do you really feel the importance of higher professional education in this post-COVID era? Sanya wants to know, almost on the same lines, as we prepare to enter the new era of work, what will change and how it will affect freshers post-COVID? And Rupam wants to know, is it possible to have post-COVID higher education through digital mode? If yes, what kind of action plan institutions must take up?
Do we have an option to survive without education? That to higher education, that to professional higher education? Absolutely not. Professional education, that too, in this particular situation, becomes a new normal. It will be a new normal for all of us. Doesn't matter whether Corona is there or something else. if you need to grow yourself, you need to be educated well. It's like a fuel in a car. If you want to drive a car, but it doesn't have fuel in it. If you want to grow yourself, but you do not have the education, you do not have the skill, so everything is gone in there. तो कहते हैं कि वो जीना भी क्या जीना है जिसमें आगे बढ़ने की ख्वाब ना हो. So it's very pertinent to say that we need to focus on higher education, that to professional higher education, to make us an edge. We need to focus on doing, contributing towards the society, contributing for making the country, contributing for making the nation, instead of only talking.
When you're in a higher education platform, students, please understand that yes, of course, you do your 12th, then graduation, and the important thing is you need to have a professional education, post-graduation, or a graduation is a professional skillful sort. So when I came to the Premier Institute, I think it really integrated my entire ability of whatever I have thought for work profile and my education from A to Z. Of course, I am a student of management, so I will obviously have a bias towards management in a big way. And even now and earlier, the management is one subject, and we had been taught as general management. We are not given a degree of business management. As you know, IIM Ahmedabad gives a degree, post-graduation degree, which calls post-graduation in management. That simply means that you are able to serve the entire world, entire industry, entire sectors in its entirety. Just now, Professor Dr. said that we need today students and youngsters in the healthcare industry, for example, which did not do too much in the management professional field. So you should believe that you do not have to be a doctor to get into even a healthcare industry. Your management education and higher skillful education, whether it's a digital, whether it's management, whether it is the ability of skills which you develop, is required in every sector. The sector is today become agnostic of your initial earlier education. It is more important that what higher education exposure you have and what skillfulness you join, and from that skill, how you take it forward in any industry.
Rohit wants to know, should a master degree be a must for graduates to reduce unemployment in the country? Ayushi wants to know, companies and firms have suffered adversely because of COVID-19. Companies will try to get rid of employees that are not experienced. So as a fresher, I think the chances of us getting employed is very low. So what should we do in this situation? On the same lines, Pooja also wants to know, there's a lot of unemployment currently due to the pandemic. People are shifting from private jobs to government jobs. My concern is, even after completion of our masters, if we want to pursue our career in private sector, would that be a good option? And Archana wants to know, since the financial conditions are affected brutally during this pandemic, why would a graduate student seek for a higher studies? What if even then he or she can't get employed with these developed skills?
That, as far as freshers are concerned, I would say you guys are blessed. I'm a very optimistic person, a very positive person. So I'll give a very positive view. Imagine if I was 20 years in my job and I would have lost a job. Well, thankfully, I'm not employed. I had a group of 15 companies and I have a fair amount of people working for me. But imagine if I was in a job for 20 years and I had suddenly, because of the pandemic, I had lost the job. I think if your question was relevant to that, I would have been really worried and my answer would have been worrying. But you guys are lucky. Freshers are lucky. You know why? Because you are entering into your careers at a time when the whole world economy and the world of business has been reset. I'm using the word reset because people are sort of starting again. They are revamping their businesses. They are revisiting their business models. They are re-looking at their marketing strategies. They are re-looking at their expansion plans. So no better time for a fresher to enter. In fact, as a corporate body, you would be surprised. At least 3 of our companies, in an effort to reduce the cost load, has given a golden handshake to some of the stalwarts who were probably drawing salaries over, close to 1 CR and so. And you will not believe, now this is for the freshers, this is a revelation here, Chetan, for you and your team of students, that you would not believe that there was a manager, of course I can't name, his emoluments were per annum. You would not believe we have found a fresh MBA who's now costing us 8.4, and would you believe he's able to deliver the same kind of results? There was another case where somebody was getting around 75. We found somebody whom we are paying 12 right now, and the person is able to do the job. So I thought freshers now have a greater chance because companies are trying to reduce their overall costs, and freshers do not cost them a bomb. You're starting your career, and a bright fresher, I feel, loaded with technological intellect, is far more effective.
One needs to think what professional education does to you. Once you have a closer look at that, then I think you can justify or leave professional education. So professional education, amongst other things, sharpens a couple of skills in a professional student, which perhaps the traditional education fails to do. For example, in management education, let me take the example of my own institute. We very strongly focus on developing 3-4 set of skills, first of which is analytical skills. So the methods like case study methodology asks you to really rack your brains and find out what is the real issue behind a situation. That is one. Second is the ability to synthesize. It's analyzing something is not enough. You need to be able to synthesize also. So once you have separated wheat from the chaff, then you need to collect and gather that wheat so that you are able to make bread out of it, so to speak. So then the ability to synthesize information. This is another piece of very critical information. Third is critical thinking skills. I think what Mr. Kohli was talking about sharpening the brain, I'm just trying to elaborate what he really meant. So analytical skills, synthetic skills, and critical thinking skills.
The Delhi University system was pretty hardly hit by the pandemic. And initially we were not well prepared with the entire online education system, but with time I think we have adopted well. I can speak for myself first. So if I can probably elaborate on this, that before COVID, I used to also teach students for IAS entrances. Now, before COVID, I had around 3 students, of which in the previous lecture I mentioned that two of them got selected. Now, because of this entire online teaching transition, from 3 students from last year, I've been able to transit into 438 students. That's been the transition that I've had. But for that transition, we need to adopt the education, the online, the hybrid education system.
So we've got a bit of a 360 now. We've got the higher education voice, we've got the industry voice, we've got the college voice, the people who are preparing our young students for that higher education. Let's take a quick break and then get the next set of questions.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Well, it is indeed an interesting class of 2020, isn't it? We will bring it right back to you after this short break, so stay tuned.
You know you are an engineer when car trouble, no trouble. Age overgrown and you can't reach, there ain't no problem engineers can't solve. Engineer, what my friends think I do, what my mom thinks I do, what society thinks I do, what the government thinks I do, what I think I do, and what I really do. Types of engineers and their offices. Thanks to engineering colleges for giving us engineers.
Foundational pillars of access, equity, accountability, quality and affordability. I hope this policy is going to bring huge changes in India's economic growth and human capital development. It amalgamates the best practices from several Western and Southeast Asian countries and even countries for Europe.
For the first time, I'm seeing that there is a deviation from curricular load to reducing the content to the essential core. I think this is going to go a long way in producing deep thinkers in our country.
The policy, to my mind, and its practical implementation in a country as vast and as diverse as in India will be a major challenge for the government of India and for the entire teaching community.
What's necessary for an educational institution is to provide conditions in which a young person or a student, and even faculty, can begin to unfold the kind of brilliance and talent that they have within themselves. And I think that the new education policy really lays down the conditions, the framework, the parameters for this to happen. So in that sense, it's a remarkable document.
Well, ironically, the new education policy aims not just at education, but the entire gamut of human resource development, as it expands the lens beyond structured curriculum and predictable careers to a holistic 360-degree character-building process, as it addresses the critical needs of employment and employability, offering a creative mix of flexibility and focus all throughout the learning life of a student, as it empowers the teacher, enhancing transparency and accountability through leaner governance. The new education policy truly has the makings perfect and clear 2020 vision, provided it's implemented in true letter and spirit. As coronavirus makes us realign and educators line up for online, will classes reopen and end the homestay? How much screen time is actually okay? Parents panic for a safer state and students in the lockdown frustrate when physical distancing is the new norm and masks and gloves become the uniform. The digital divide becomes a serious challenge. Adaptability becomes key for the wise chancellor.
That is one different song that we want very big. Then there are some lessons of the perspective of that is each student this online teaching. But then still it is that any faculty
It's truly a pleasure to call you the Vice Chancellor. Thank you, sir.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Let's go back to our class of 2020 and join Chetan Sharma, founder of Edumate.tv, in conversation with students, teachers, principals, and university professors on the special topics that are creating a buzz in the post-COVID environment.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv. You're watching our very special coverage on why higher education has become so exclusive and so imperative now in the going scenario. Well, I mentioned the word exclusive because there are exclusive courses coming up. It's horses for courses now. New kinds of education, new kinds of courses, new kinds of employability, new kinds of skills, and new kinds of careers.
Komal wants to know, when a large number of business have already moved from offline to online in the pre-COVID era, why hasn't higher education not moved to online yet? And Sapna wants to know, this COVID-19 period has created a big loss in our studies by creating a long gap between students and education. How students will cover up these losses post-COVID-19? Sahil wants to know, why has the government not thought of holistic education till now?
The government definitely needs to do something about the education sector, primarily in supporting the private sector, which is there, in terms of maybe even giving a financial package, because what is happening is that there are the admissions time that is there, and people are not right now getting admissions, and as a result they're not getting a sufficient amount of a revenue for themselves to sustain the faculty or the other infrastructure they have been maintaining. So we do see that there is a need for the governments to be there to provide for a particular infrastructure that is there. There is a need for a private initiative to be a little more stronger, where faculty engage themselves more closely or offer more programs through MDPs, through FDPs, or through other programs through the online sources.
The higher education and professional higher educations both are different. It's a mere degree. So if you are having a MA or MSc in a correspondence, just you are having a degree. But in case of professional higher education, what is the differentiating factor? The experience, the life skills which you are inculcating during the program, that keeps this professional higher education different from the higher education, so which is missing in our online program. So yeah, in post-COVID scenario, we are moving towards that, but still we can't replace this professional higher, we cannot put this professional higher degree programs on an online mode completely.
तो नमस्ते, शुरू करते हैं हम एक कविता जो कि खुद हमारे द्वारा लिखी गई है, जिसका टाइटल है फरिश्ते। तो ध्यान से सुनिएगा। रूह जिस्म से निकल रही होती, रूह जिस्म से निकल रही होती है, हम भगवान के सामने हाथ फैलाते हैं, तभी सफेद कोट पहने सामने से चलकर भगवान इंसान के रूप में चले आते हैं। रूह को खींचकर वो वापस जिस्म में समाते हैं, उजड़ते घर को वो बिखरने से बचाते हैं। सफेद चादर न ओढ़ा दी जाए एक जिस्म को, इसलिए वो खुद के तन पे सफेद लिबास अपनाते हैं। हाँ, सही समझा आपने, वो और कोई नहीं, वो हमारे डॉक्टर्स ही कहलाते हैं। ध्यान दीजिएगा इन लाइंस पे कि 2020 का खेल चल रहा है, 2020 का खेल चल रहा है, एज इट्स 2020। तो 2020 का खेल चल रहा है, कोरोना को करने की तैयारी है। जिंदा इन डॉक्टर्स और पुलिस वालों के बेहतर फील्डिंग्स के बदौलत ही हैं हम, छाई दुनिया पे गंभीर बीमारी। शुक्रिया उन सभी का करते हैं हम, शुक्रिया उन सभी का करते हैं हम, जिन्होंने अपनी जान जोखिम पर लगाई है, देश के खातिर उन्होंने बड़ी कीमत चुकाई है। परिवार उनके सलामत रहे, परिवार उनके सलामत रहे, जिन्होंने सही बड़ी लंबी जुदाई है। सत सत नमन उन डॉक्टर्स और पुलिस वालों का, जिन्होंने अपनी भूख, प्यास, दर्द, परिवार सबको भूलकर लड़ी ये लड़ाई।
Today's generation is our infantry. We could be the artillery, which is 2 kilometers behind. it was such difficult conditions under which, if you see that movie, They Shall Not Grow Old, it's 1 hour, 20 minutes, something like that. Peter Jackson, you can search it. It's available on Amazon Prime. But the fact is that it is young which create a nation. If youth have a habit of reading, if youth have a habit of understanding what is going around them, youth have a habit of being sensitive to things around them, then only we'll create a nation which, in true words, in true sense, would be a nation which will lead the world.
There are around 51,000 higher education institutions in our country. But where is the gap actually? Because there were so many students, who were asking about the unemployment which is prevailing in our country. But let me tell you that 2 months back, we were at 23% unemployment rate. But currently we are at 11% unemployment rate. So you can very well understand when the business is revived, we have actually, recovered our the rate which we had lost.
Karthik wants to know, as we are not sure when this pandemic will get over, suppose if it gets over in the middle of our regular sessions, what will be the study criteria then? And will our syllabus be reduced or will our exam schedule be changed? What will be the overall changes that we will have to make in our studies in post-pandemic environment?
Now, open book examination system, whether done online or done offline, they basically have one premise, that the candidate has understood whatever he has been taught, one, and he can apply, and he also can evaluate, he also can analyze, and he can. So I will give you a question, for example, in an examination that you've studied a course on marketing. Prepare a marketing plan for me to sell a product. Say a new entrepreneur, Mr. Chetan Sharma, has a new venture, and how does he plan his venture? So you will have to do all these spreadsheet exercise, and you'll have to create the financials, you'll have to project the you'll have to create a strategy, you'll have to identify the possible groups, you probably will have to identify questions which may be asked from a possible audience or possible buyers. So, what we are saying is that open book examination and proctored examination will help us identify our students better. Then let me tell you, online education is very, very hard work. It's a huge hard work. You need to create new style of teaching. You have to ask faculty to work in a different manner. It's not easy at all. It's much easier to go to a classroom and deliver a lecture. So if you think that quality of higher education on online is going to be lower, or examination there'll be cheating, please don't worry about it. Let me tell you, it all starts from you. If you are interested in improving your own abilities, if you are interested in making yourself, let me tell you, today's corporate sector, ask Mr. Chetan Sharma. Ask Mr. Sharad, let me tell you, Chetan Sharad was associated with the IMS Ghaziabad long back. In 90s, he was a part of this institution, right? And I can tell you that if we start thinking in terms of the organizations, if you start thinking in terms of people who employ you, they're not interested in your marks only. They are interested in your abilities. So please don't focus on marks and degrees. Focus on developing yourself as a future professional, as a future leader, as to how you're going to contribute to organizations in their growth.
Exams or no exams, my dear students, your quality is not going to change. It's your quality which does matters, right? It's the best time, like Professor Das Siddharth said, it's the best time to invest in your skills. It's the best time to hone your skills. Try investing more and more time on upskilling yourself, on reskilling yourself. Try investing more time to focus on your communication, your confidence, your consistency, and of course, your content, which you'll get from many sources. So these C's are going to make you able, make you competent to fight in the professional career, professional culture.
If we've got to move forward, it has to be only through higher education. The first thing you've got to do, the first E is expect. You've got to learn to anticipate where the movements are and then you've got to go along the line, align it with your skill set, your passion. Both of them are very critical. The next E is to embrace. Once you've done that, you should just go wholeheartedly. You should take it at a 360. You should go with your entire heart, soul, and mind to embrace it. And then you will do the third C, which is evolve. You've got to respect that this is a dynamic situation. It's going to change time after time. Everything that you do is work in progress. It'll take its own shape, it'll take its own form, but it'll get you exactly what you're looking for. So be prepared to evolve and not be complacent with what you've got. Thank you, each and every one of you, for joining us. And finally, to conclude, as I always say, on Edumate.tv, to educate yourself better, you'd better edumate.
On this new national education policy, which has come after almost 34 years, based on the foundational pillars of access, equity, accountability, quality and affordability. I hope this policy is going to bring huge changes in India's economic growth and human capital development. It amalgamates the best practices from several Western and Southeast Asian countries and even countries for Europe. We hope that with the draft new guidelines available to us soon, we all would be there to support the government on this wonderful initiative.
Namaskar. Thank you Edumate TV and Mr. Chetan Sharma for giving me a chance to give my initial comments on national education policy. The policy is very comprehensive. I think the committee has done an excellent job. We have gone through the whole draft of the policy earlier. For higher education, where I'm working as a Vice Chancellor, I'm Professor S.P. Singh, Vice Chancellor of Royal Global University, Guwahati. I would say it's going to bring out many favorable, good changes with respect to whatever we are not in a position to do due to many rigidness of the earlier policies, a lot of regimented approach by the regulatory bodies. Now the regulatory bodies are going to be under one umbrella other than Bar Council of India and Medical Council of India. Hopefully they will also come in the main framework in due course of time. Also about that if there will be one regulatory body, it will be easy for them to see that quality of education is proper in the higher education institutions or not.
Hello everyone. This is Professor Tapan Kumar Nayak, Dean Academics, IMS Ghaziabad. With whole heart, I welcome the new education policy being announced by the Government of India on 29th of July 2020 under the able leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi. This is a much needed and much awaited decision to bring quality in the system of education in the country. I am sure this new education policy is going to bring quality in the system of education in general and higher education in particular, with the help of 5-pillar concept of education stressed by Honorable Prime Minister, that is accessibility, affordability, equity, quality and accountability.
The new policy emphasizes complete changes in the realm of governance, pedagogy, teacher training, and also accreditation, funding, all aspects of the higher education system of the country. Naturally, this radical change will call for measures, and the success of this policy depends on how effectively it is implemented. It is too early to comment on the merits and demerits of the policy, but then taking into account the radical nature of the changes, it can be said that its implementation will depend on how effective measures or mechanisms are put in place. The policy is too idealistic to my mind, and its practical implementation in a country as vast and as diverse as in India will be a major challenge for economic teaching community.
Everybody, this is Dr. Venkatesh Laikar, Vice Chancellor Sanjay Gora University. So whatever the lacunas in our higher education systems will be taken care by this new policy called New Education Policy 2020. Know that any institution is meant for three purposes: knowledge dissemination, knowledge creation, knowledge application. We are good in knowledge dissemination. We have to take care of knowledge application and knowledge creation by the students community as well as by the faculty. Second point is any curriculum is based upon three factors: knowledge, skill, attitude. We are good again in giving knowledge to students. What about the skill set are to be required by the outsiders and also the attitude. Third point is about the employability. Whomever we produce graduates, are they employable? You know that India the employment rate is around 10%. Fourth, regarding with respect to our cross enrollment ratio of our country, it is around 27.3. Compared to other countries, is very less. If you see America or Europe countries, there the cross enrollment ratio is more than 70%. So these are the issues of higher education. And one more thing I want to say is that whether we are capable of giving an interdisciplinary approach, multidisciplinary approach, and the transdisciplinary approach, I think the focus should be more on transdisciplinary approach. I think this policy is focusing on transdisciplinary approach. Because so far, we have been giving a monoculture knowledge to the students, those are joining different programs. Today, this policy will replace this monoculture knowledge will be replaced by, philosophy, sociology, psychology, fine arts, etc., etc. The principles of this new education policies are like this: respect diversity and local context, equity and inclusion, use of technology, community participation, lifelong learning, critical thinking. So, in our education systems, we have been forcing to learn a lot of subjects, whether it's useful for his life or the society. This policies emphasizing on reduction in curriculum, which is not required at all. So it focuses more on core essentials, critical thinking, interactive classes, experience learning, project-based learning, and case-based approach. So these are the plus points of this national education policy. At the end, I would like to say, in education system, in especially higher education system, the emerging technologies like machine learning, artificial intelligence, data analytics, blockchain, IoT, machine learning, these are to be taught to the students irrespective of the programs, because these are the need of the hour. I think this national education policy will take care of the inclusion of new technology which is required by the industry and society, then focusing more on transdisciplinary approach, that is the need of the hour. That means an engineering student, if he is to learn in music, he can learn music taking one subject or two extra subjects. So I think, and also this NEP is taking care of the advanced learners also. The boy is very intelligent. If he wants to finish his degree within 16 years, this NEP is allowing them. So overall, I think this policy will take care of the economy of our country, and also I think we will once again emerge a universal guru for higher education.
Welcome to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Coming ahead is a very special show, The Vice Chancellor, with Dr. Amarjyoti Chaudhary, Vice Chancellor, Assam Downtown University. An exclusive conversation of insight, inspiration with Chetan Sharma, founder, Edumate.tv. Over to Chetan.
Hello and welcome to Edumate.tv. I'm Chetan Sharma. We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented situation, an unprecedented pandemic. With the history being written across the geography of Mother Earth, and a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making each of us rethink, rewind, reset, reboot, reformat before we rebuild a new future, a new norm. In the field of higher education, challenges have been unique, challenges have been aplenty. But solutions are also there for one to see. But to find those solutions, you need to have one trait, one unique trait, and that's the trait of wisdom. Wisdom emanating from knowledge and experience of the past, wisdom to anticipate, be flexible, evolve with the new future. And to do that, at the higher education helms, we have the wise chancellors. Well, today we have a very special guest from the Downtown University in Assam. My pleasure to introduce Professor Amarjyoti Chaudhary, who's been a luminary in the field of education, and such a pleasure to have him talk to us today. Thank you for joining us, Professor.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, COVID has had some unique challenges. It's baffled several, and I'm sure you'd have your set of challenges as well. Talk us through, importantly, how you were able to overcome these challenges at the university.
There has been definitely very honest efforts from our side. And it all started, as you know, in mid-March, when our classroom situation suddenly came to a grinding halt. And we had to reboot. Initially, for us, and happily for us, the changes came from the teachers. The very first day we were in a lot of turmoil. We didn't know how to respond to it. And there were frantic queries from students as to what to be done and when they should go back, hostels to be vacated, all these questions. And suddenly a group of teachers came up with the idea that why don't we start some, very modestly, WhatsApp group, and next elevate it to the next level, that we already have an ERP, what we call Education Resource Planning System, a digital platform. In our last semester, not this semester, earlier one, we had examinations with this. We had also uploaded the class notes and the videos of teachers, but still, when it came to this, immediately did not come to our mind. It was pointed out by teachers. We remember that afternoon when we decided that we will relaunch and reuse our ERP system for this. And then for some time, we could see that there were students, we could address the students, although they were starting to go for their homes. And as you know, the topography of Assam is very unique, and there are very remote areas which cannot be reached easily. The WhatsApp system was there, mobile system was there, and in some cases, some kind of semblance of connectivity was there that at least the teachers could talk.
Every crisis throws an opportunity. And when you mentioned remote areas and a very unique topography in the entire Northeast, and Assam is no different, the opportunity then would have been, one would assume, that the need for online education in a very widespread and a sparse population with a unique topography should have come much earlier, because that is an obvious road ahead. So my question to you is that how well prepared were you on the online front? A. B. Have you seen COVID catalyze that? And C, which is more critical to the entire country, not to just the Northeast, the sinister digital divide, which comes from lack of proper bandwidth and devices in the hands of rural India.
We were prepared to a certain extent, and we had, even in our last semester, we had organized some of our examinations through our digital platform, what we call the sessional examinations. And then we also uploaded our class notes and videos of classrooms prepared by our teachers. Those were uploaded. Coming to grip with a totally online system where you respond to it is not quite easy. And that was gradually developed. And I must admit, it is COVID which has catalyzed the situation, and we have come to the stage as it is now, where we can think of giving online education to the people sitting also in the remote areas. Only problem is still now that some of the areas are still not reachable by they don't have any connectivity, and the problem was solved by negotiating with students that they will come to a certain place for classes. Not all the students. Some students will come to certain places, and they will, in the process, take avail of the online system. So there was
you created little
adjustment made.
hubs, you say.
Yes, we created little hubs, and we found that we could cover the entire syllabus. We have done a virtual laboratory test. That is, we have prepared videos of laboratories and shown it, and asked the critical components to students, and then pointed out where they have to do it. Of course, it is not quite the same as doing by your hand, I admit. But then some semblance of teaching could be done.
So as they say, necessity is the mother of innovation, and I see all your students and teachers are taking the innovative path, which is very reassuring and quite commendable. Now talk us through the Downtown University as a mission and a vision, because I know innovation has been at the core of the thinking of the university, and that's been reflected by your actions as well.
The university, it was set up in 2010 by Downtown Charity Trust, which is promoted by the trustees of Downtown Hospital of Guwahati. And it was set up in a hillock, a very beautiful hillock, by the side of Brahmaputra, amidst lush greeneries. And we have architecture which is blending with the nature. And we have students from all across Northeast. There are also scattered from various other states of India. And we also have the fortune of having 194 foreign students. When we say foreign students, these are from the neighboring areas like Bhutan, Nepal, Bangladesh, and the Zimbabwe. The whole idea was initially to cater to the basic needs of the region. One of the basic needs of the region was that paramedical science was not taking grip in this region. And this was the area where university focused at the outset, together with its sister faculties of pharmaceutical science and also nursing. And to that extent, we would say that that vision has been largely successful. Now we have added to it the faculties of engineering and science, also the faculty of commerce, management, and humanities and social sciences. And when we say engineering and science, there also basically we are giving more prominence to biological studies, biotechnology, biochemistry, for example, so that there could be solutions found through research, through innovations and research, where we can address the issues of various diseases which are prevalent here. So this has been the primary focus of the university. We have covered 10 years of our existence from 2010 to 2020. In the meantime, we have got NAAC accreditation, we have got ISO certification for academic management. We have also got iGauge, that is the subsidiary of QS system, as you all know, which has given a certificate that we have acquired the excellence in e-learning and teaching.
You mentioned one important word a few times, that is the word blend. You've chosen to blend, whether your architecture has been blended, whether you've chosen to blend cultures through your diversity of students from the Northeast as well as other parts of the country,
Yes.
as well as overseas. You've chosen to be blended
Yes.
in your approach to teaching, because you're already doing online plus.
Yes, we are already doing, and we believe that classroom teaching is good, but then it needs more fortification, and we find that online system comes as a useful ally, not as a total
As a
alternative.
replacement, but the blend, as I was saying about the
Blend is there. Blend should be there.
Tell us whether the blend has also seeped into what has now become the new normal of interdisciplinary, curriculums, wherein you have people, students choosing a very diverse set of topics which are not necessarily related, but they are very much holistic in him becoming a better citizen, and B, having far more astute career options.
In the initial years also there were some attempts on this, but then there were not direct approval or from the University Grants Commission. But now we all know that University Grants Commission has also prescribed that to take interdisciplinarity as a core idea of the education. So accordingly we have planned our system, and now we have provisions where, for example, students of engineering can, if they wish, can take up a course on dramatics, or can take up a course on music, for that matter. Or also, if they are more interested in, say, words of biotechnology, they can also go there. So interdisciplinarity has come into the university.
What's also very much there is a sense of confusion amongst people at large. That's been one of the fallouts of COVID, understandable given the unprecedented. And the unprecedented is not just there for the citizens of this country and the world; it's also for the government. We've seen a plethora of decisions being taken, announced, examinations being scrapped, online education being invoked, debates on when should the institutions reopen, on the fee structure, the curriculum reduction. And while everything has been in the realms of public debates and conflict, governments being involved, state, central government being involved, Supreme Court being involved, parent bodies, and associations being involved, it has thrown open a Pandora's box, and that has created confusion. Now, the last thing that you need in a state of crisis is confusion. You need decision-making, unilateral decision-making. Maybe somewhere down the line, we are all being affected and being victims of that. What is your statement?
I totally agree, and I believe the fundamental idea behind education is to create the thinking man, le penseur. And that thing comes to my mind again and again, that you have to think and find ways to overcome whatever comes in front of you, so that you can lead and fashion the future to your liking. So we also in the university often talk about this thinking man. So the whole idea of education in our university has been to create some amount of self-learning and self-thinking which needs to be incorporated into the syllabus itself. For example, that certain portions of the syllabus the students themselves will try to learn, and that has been a core concept in our university. And methods for innovation, it may be for very small thing, innovation of very small devices, small technological devices, so that it can help the surrounding areas. And we have adopted a couple of villages around our university, and have sought to create some technological devices which become very handy for them. For example, proper water supply.
So sometimes one feels, Professor Chaudhary, that this country has never had a problem of thought. It's had a problem of action. And we've had some of the best thinkers in the world, still do, some of the best policies, some of the best opinions, some of the best white papers, research done. But when it comes to implementation and action is where we fall through. Innovation has also been done, but then to have sustained implementation has been a large part of the problem. Tell us how do you inculcate that in your education? And also I want you to talk us through your career, because I know your career has been illustrious. You've been a man of action as well as thought. So inspire us with your career and let us know what you've done, you've introduced in the fields of education.
If we think about the idea of this thinking man, we seriously believe that this motive is a very important concept in our education. Should be the central point of our education system. Our aim now is to create similar courses, and we have already in our last meeting, academic council meeting, we have already decided there will be some courses leading to leadership in different walks of life. So that leadership needs to be cultivated. And implementation. And implementation, this very often we are earlier people used to say that universities are places where you think, but you do not work or you do not act. Now this combination needs to come, and so some effort is done. I topped the HSLC examination, that is the matriculation examination there in the whole of state of Assam. And then I went to pre-university. There also I was in the top 4. And then I went to Cotton College and did my BSc honors in physics. And from there I got first class, and then went to Delhi University. And from there also I got first class in solid state physics. And next I got a scholarship to go to Oxford University, where from I got my PhD. Me and my guide jointly worked on for the first time, worked on the concept of confocal microscopy. It's a significant instrument in biological studies. And I have also worked into European Laboratory for Nonlinear Spectroscopy. I was a visiting professor there, and there I worked. And these, we have worked on multiphoton, multifocal microscopy there. Towards the later part of my life, I have focused mostly on nanotechnology and building nanotechnological devices. So this has been the career. I was the Vice Chancellor of Guwahati, but I resigned and I came to Tezpur University, and I was a Pro-Vice Chancellor there. I stayed there till I retired, and then I came to University of Science and Technology, Meghalaya, as a professor, C.V. Raman professor. And now I am the Vice Chancellor of Assam Downtown University. But then my time is also coming to an end because I will soon be approaching 70 years.
It's absolutely fascinating, Professor Chaudhary, how how casually you have spoken about your entire life, which has been star-studded with so many firsts, and that of course also highlights your humility, which is perhaps one of the greatest traits of a true leader. Now, when it comes to inspiration must lead to solution. It must lead to good advice, and there's several in the entire ecosphere of education which would like an advice from luminaries, and successes like yourself. First the student, then the parent, who become a very important conduit, then the teacher, and then finally your fellow vice chancellors. What would be your advice to each of them?
For students, I would say that this epidemic has given them, yes, problems, but then it has also given them ample times for self-learning and for reading good books, pursuing their hobbies and becoming a better man. And also at the same time, very often students used to complain that because of the semester system, they do not get enough time to go through the syllabus in details. But now we have time. So I would urge upon our students that kindly go through the syllabus again and again, and whatever discipline you want to do. And then also venture into other areas of thinking, so that I often find that if you're a scientist, it's good, but then unless it is blended with the arts and culture, or if someone is an artist and he has no idea about science, then it goes wrong. It needs to be combined. And this this interdisciplinarity of knowledge and approach, in fact, brings variety to your life. So I would request our fellow students to kindly inculcate this habit, because later on you will find that it provides you enough inner satisfaction. And the same is the case with teachers. Teachers need to pursue it with more vigor. And we have seen, I have already told that fortunately our teachers in the university, it is from them that we learned to how to use the online system very effectively. So I would urge them to carry this idea of innovation in teaching, learning, and also in their professional career, so that entire university, entire the society is benefited, entire country is benefited. If we talk about our parents, I would urge them that yes, of course you have a life and you would like your sons and daughters to grow up in a certain manner. But then if the student has a certain choice of study, please give heed to it and consult well-known counselors in which areas your students and your sons and daughters should read. Because I very often find that it is the wrong selection of the discipline that has led to many students not faring the way they would otherwise have done. So that is my request for the parents and for the society. Yes, we have faced a pandemic, but then we need to face it. Science and technology has provided the main basic structure as to how to solve it, and on the basis of this structure, on the basis of which solutions will come, facts and figures. So let us talk with facts and figures and with scientific ideas, develop scientific temperament. I think the universe will be a good place to live. There is interconnectedness everywhere. The entire human society is interconnected. If you go deep into the science, this is the feeling that you get.
You know, Professor Chowdhury, there's just so much to learn from you. And I thank you for teaching us, teaching me over these last 30 minutes, so many values about your experiences, about your wisdom, about your humility, about your analysis, and just about how to be a good human being and a constant learner.
I think these are the ideas that needs to be promoted. I find the way you have interacted, it is not to merely going to the usual cliche of the educational route that is normally discussed in the television channels, but then go deep into it, find solutions to the emerging problems. I think that will be very beneficial to our future society, and I think this is the trend that should be cultivated in our educational talk shows.
At Mysore University convocation, Prime Minister Modi talks up national education policy. New education policy will arrest brain drain. Pokhriyal at IIT Indore 8th convocation. 900 out of 956 seats already filled at Hindu College. Two Delhi University colleges tell court that Delhi government hasn't released fund so can't pay staff. Maharashtra likely to miss 31st October deadline for final exams due to server glitch. SIU to hold a literary festival for its silver jubilee. Tamil Nadu government to reject eminent status offered to Anna University. NEET topper from Odisha who scored a perfect 720 says studied for 15 hours daily, balanced with gaming. Delhi University second cutoff might not have seats in history honours, pol science honours and other courses. COVID bed crunch at hostels to unresponsive males at Delhi University. Gaps yet to be addressed in higher education. Delhi University applicants complained about unresponsive numbers males. NEET sees excellent turnout from Chhattisgarh and smaller regions. Reopening of schools begins in Maharashtra from October 19th. Delhi University second cutoff announced for many courses. Re-exam for students who weren't able to appear for MHCET due to power outage. Many states yet to decide school reopening dates unsure due to COVID-19 situation. LSR records highest cutoff at 100% for 3 courses. No need to spend dollars on a foreign degree anymore. Ramesh Pokhriyal. Prime Minister Modi wants Oxford, Harvard and Yale to open campuses in India. Role of NCERT is very important in implementing new education policy. NEET result 2020. Students who fail in NEET need not be disappointed. Education Minister Nishank. New technology at IIT promises to take rural development further. Second grade students successfully launch science experiment into space. Surakshit Bharat, Sashakt Bharat scholarships take new education policy goals forward. Android app launched for Leather Sector Skill Council Quality Education. For in-depth details of all stories and analysis, log on to www.edumate.tv.
These were the top headlines from the world of education. Now, let's move on to our special series on the new normal, Candid COVID Classroom, where we engage with the industry, domain experts, principals, and the university professors on special topics which are creating a buzz in the post-COVID environment.
We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented situation, an unprecedented pandemic. With history being written across the geography of Mother Earth, and a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making each and every one of us rethink, reboot, reset, reformat, rewind before we rebuild a new future, a new normal. The only thing constant, they say, in life is change. The only thing consistent and certain in a pandemic is uncertainty. While all progress necessitates change, all change does not lead to progress. And that's perhaps the reason why we all need to come together, particularly in the world of education, to discuss, debate, create opinions, views, news, and analysis to understand the new challenges, find out and evaluate the new solutions, and create the new opportunities. And that's exactly what we do at Edumate.tv in our series called The Candid COVID Classroom, which is brought to you by Education, an organization that looks at education ahead. And I must say with great pride, it's powered by one of India's better universities, the IMS at Ghaziabad. As always, in our webinar, we have a huge list of very credible luminaries in the field of education and beyond. Let's take a look at who our special guests and speakers are. I'll take opening comments first from our keynote speaker, then I'll go across to our several professors and HODs who've joined us from across the country, and then come back to our special guests to respond to the problems that they've been facing on the ground. First, let's go across to our special keynote speaker for today, Professor Alok Pandey, to open the environment, and let us know his thoughts on digital India.
The fact that, India is a country of 140 crore people. The another astounding fact today is that more than 120 crore of these people have a digital ID, which we call Aadhaar. It's a biometric ID where efforts have been put in to enroll almost every citizen with this particular framework. This Aadhaar ID, coupled with close to 120 crore mobile phones, out of which around 60 crores are smartphones, 50 crore people connected on Wi-Fi, with computer, close to an improved access to computers and computer literacy, digital literacy. India is one of the largest digitally connected country in the world. The only competition we have is from China, which is a little ahead of us. And now we are trying to identify as to why is China ahead of us and what makes China a better country. But let me tell you, India is a democracy. In a democracy, the purpose of initiating any intervention is public good. If used properly, digital interventions can improve transaction governance capacities. It can make our decisions transparent. It can ensure that consistent decisions are taken, and it can ensure that a wide population can be reached. However, there is a downside. If not used clearly, it has severe cyber threat. And if you do not have adequate cyber support system, and if you do not have cyber security system, the entire country would come to a standstill.
Digital India, if I go with my concern, it's basically about empowering whenever we are talking about empowerment, it is always useful. But the thing is how we should go about it. I mean, you might have seen the various examples. Since 4 months, you all are working on a digital platform, say it a Paytm or Jio or healthcare industry or architecture or education industry. Everyone is working on a digital platform. So we are lucky enough. We are working for growth. We are talking about the growth aspect also. As far as education industry concerned, I have devoted my 18 years in education. So I'll be touching that part also. A lot of discussions are over there, discussion between schools and colleges and the parents and the other industries as well. Everyone says that students are giving more over time on these sources. But what my concern is how much quality time they are giving to these sources. So for example, I'll be taking a name of few things over here. Schools are running the classes online. That's very good. We want to go for it.
As I'm from St. Francis Degree College, Hyderabad. Actually, we are one of the premium institutions in the Twin Cities of Hyderabad, where we have started the initiative of online classes, admissions and counselings for the current and the future students. The experience thus far has been that of learning curve. Challenges have been many, right from connectivity to IT infrastructure to health issues of students and the faculty, not get to virtual learning, teaching and monitoring quality education, etc. Actually, to just name them, actually we can just say the journey has just begun. But if you just look at the online classes, whatever, the enabling technology is only as good as the teacher and the ability of the student to grasp the new techniques of teaching. Some of the teachers felt that actually more children are responsive and active when this particular online classes are going on. But some of the teachers disagreed, saying that they are not that active or responsive, right? But as the teachers, we do find the absence of blackboard, disadvantage, and the network connectivity a constant problem. We miss the clarity of that blackboard gives us. We are kind of making to do with the virtual whiteboard on the Google Meet. Usually we like to put the things on them so that at least the students will be more access towards it.
This is the greatest opportunity that we are learning on, moving from a physical classroom to a virtual classroom. But then yes, there are lots of innovations to the virtual classroom. If I say about the digital etiquette that we need to have the serious issue of the security of our own data that has been there on the digital platforms whenever we go on for the Zoom class or the Google Meet or whatever mode that we use. And definitely there are issues of the kind of interactions that we have been missing when we have a face-to-face interaction with our students. Now, you can never substitute that face-to-face interaction that you are having with the student with the online platform. And at times you would see that there are serious internet issues which are being faced by the students. There may be internet issues with the faculties as well, but then we all are moving, carrying on ourselves to sustain in this kind of a pandemic time and ensure that the learning process moves on.
I want to say that digitalization is the new life that we have moving forward, and this is the new life that I think we have to survive and in the coming years as well. As I can see in the data that the India digitalization has been increasing, and the people that who are using digitalization or in internet has been increased by 23% between 2019 and 2020. And even in the social media, that has been increased by 130 million people have joined social media. That is 48% between April 2019 to 2020. So we can say that digitalization is a new thing, and we cannot just say that okay, this is having a good, bad impact in our health.
Digital concepts in recent times is a lifeline for the people, not only in India, but for it is globally used tools for children to all people. Education, all education systems, banking systems, industry, agriculture, government activities, all are related to digital devices.
And just to highlight this, do you know that the latest KPMG report says that India's online education market is set to grow to close $2 billion USD with close to 10 million users by 2020. And that's a report by KPMG, which we obviously strongly believe and vouch by. So that's definitely a very strong impact in this whole market of, if you're talking of upskilling, of creating technological environments, and so many of private players, as you also, Chetan, just when in your opening note mentioned about. Entrepreneurship is another one beautiful aspect that COVID-19 and EduTech and through Edumate that we are bringing to the platter today on the table and sharing with the world. So reskilling and online certification, interestingly, is one of the largest category today, and it is close to 100 million USD.
Major things that we evaluate, like almost on a yearly basis, we take about 100 plus interns and we get them into our organization, right from the business side, the design side, the technology side, as well as we are into getting them onboarded from various standpoints, like be it an understanding of the marketing side or configuring certain design solutions or tech solutions. So what I've been experiencing, and which is what, it is not about the how of digital, of course, that is a very, very, very important element to it, but the more important element is about the why of education. Because if we have a clarity on the why of education, then the how will become a lot more easier. So now, if you look at what has been happening in the past, there have been certain constraints, and which is what made education the way it was supposed to be. Like, so if we go back to a few earlier times, then education used to be more about creating workforce of a certain kind for a certain industry. Now the construct of the industry itself is changing, and changing significantly on an ongoing basis, on a daily basis, and which is why it becomes even more important that not just the configuration of the education and the way it is being provided changes, but it also changes the way people are being mentored or guided into their life. Because education is not just supposed to be giving certificates or degrees, but it's supposed to be making the professionals of tomorrow and enabling livelihoods and ensuring that people who are coming to a particular industry, they come with the right levels of clarity, passion, and skills.
Just to give a little bit of insight, I have always worked online. It's been 22 years now. And I've always done all my work online, and luckily I've been able to envision the changes that have come through, and I've been able to make use of the changes in terms of the opportunities and the kind of ecosystem that I have built for a person to go from a blog to a book, right? I see the same thing now happening with education as well. Personally, I have done a lot of my education online also. Right now, I think there are many layers to it. When it comes to cracking open these opportunities, and a lot of people have made a lot of great points about how there are many opportunities, especially the chance to upskill and to learn and unlearn and to make this new reality a part of the new normal.
Coronavirus and subsequent lockdown have increased use of digital platform. And the digital adoption rate have been increased suddenly during this lockdown, even if it is surpassed over 6 years. During this, people have used many applications and digital infrastructure for every need, like payment, DBT from government, grocery, food, and even if for upskilling the education, that is for 24/7. So after pandemic, this may be irreversible. There may be irreversible shift in behavior where digital platform might be the first choice.
So we've heard a lot of the ground challenges from all our guests from across the country, the professors of the various colleges and institutes, and their ground experiences. We've heard the industry voices as where is the gap that is required, for their inflow of students. We've also heard the opportunities in the industry going forward. Now we need the bridge to fill this gap between the ground problems which are being experienced by the professors to the bridge that will be provided by the universities to ensure that we have the correct ready-made product, the relevant product, the responsible product, the responsive product which will be made available to industry at large. And that's where the role of IMS Ghaziabad comes in. Let's take a quick break and hear from each of our team members of IMS Ghaziabad as to how they are transforming education at the higher level to ensure relevance, responsibility, and responsiveness. In just a moment.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Well, it is indeed an interesting candid COVID classroom, isn't it? We will bring it right back to you after this short break, so stay tuned.
coronavirus makes us realign and educators line up for online. Will classes reopen and end the homestay? How much screen time is actually okay? Parents panic for a safer state and students in the lockdown frustrate when physical distancing is the new norm and masks and gloves become the uniform. The digital divide is becoming sinister. We now need solutions from our dear minister.
हमारी शीर्ष प्राथमिकता उस छात्र छात्रा के जीवन की रक्षा करने का है,
ताकि पूरे देश में भी कहीं कोई बच्चा सोचे मुझे एडमिशन नहीं मिला लेकिन मैं दिल्ली में जाके रह सकता हूँ, उसको भी ये कंफर्म हो जाए कि मुझे दिल्ली में एडमिशन मिल जाएगा।
परिस्थितियां इसी प्रकार बनी रहती हैं तो आने वाले टाइम में कुछ निर्णय लेंगे। इसलिए हमारा विचार है कि मैं स्कूल खोलने चाहिए।
We can be a tool in the days to come to go use digital mediums of education system.
A market is all about demand and supply. We have to see what are the emerging areas where we have to provide skill and education.
Excellent teachers should be inducted into the education system as teachers and they should transform this to their children.
पहाड़ी क्षेत्र में टावर का कमी होता है, जो आदिवासी क्षेत्र है
जी
सभी के पास ऑनलाइन मोबाइल नहीं है, तो बहुत सारी बातें हैं।
Thank you Chetan Sharma and Edumate TV have been doing a wonderful job of connecting with people of all sectors and the churning that takes place. It is like Samudra Manthan and we will get what you say Amrita. You carry the Amrita to the government and let us all drink that poison and like Shiva and make this education system glorious.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Let's go back to our new normal candid COVID classroom and join Chetan Sharma, founder Edumate.tv, in conversation with industry, domain experts, principals, and the university professors on special topics which are creating a buzz in the post-COVID environment.
Now it's time to hear those very important voices that are bridging these needs and are working very hard and tirelessly in their endeavor to fulfill the need gaps. Very critical in making us ensure that this country reaps all benefits of the demographic dividend as well as overcomes the challenges which could be posed by a very sinister digital divide. Let's go across now to Professor Tapan Kumar Nayak, Dean Academics at IMS Ghaziabad, for his insights into what he's heard so far and how it's being mitigated at this great university.
It is basically a change management which you have to look at. We see in every aspect there are three concepts. We call it: one, that we see the change; second, that we forecast the change; and third, that we implement the change. Basically, it is one more quotient which has been added to the three already existing quotients: IQ, EQ, SQ. Now this is going to be AQ, which we call it adaptation quotient. Now we at IMS Ghaziabad has adapted the change. I do not take this as the challenges. We have converted all the challenges into the realities. We have converted all the challenges into the opportunities. Now if you look at this digitization process, how we have converted these challenges, that let me tell you, Chetan, I already have told you in many other platforms that IMS Ghaziabad has taken this challenge in a positive way. We have converted all our physical classrooms to digital classrooms. We have completed all our remaining classes since March 2020, whether it is classes, whether it is examinations. We have conducted all the examinations, whether it be it midterm examination, end-term examinations, be it different types of webinars. Let me tell you, reassure you, once again reconfirm you that we have conducted almost 37 webinars so far for all the stakeholders, be it our students, faculties, or aspiring students, or any other people. We have also conducted one online international conference and 4 have to go, 4 have to online. And let me tell you other things, that yes, you can see that these platforms are going to create a challenge, but let me tell you that we have talked to our students, we have talked to our faculty members that these challenges need to be converted into the opportunities.
So in terms of the digitalization and digitization, the world of finance and banking has been very, very proactive. And most of the speakers, if I listen to them, one concern was voiced, I think, uniformly across, was how to reach out to people at the lower strata of the society. So in finance, the digitalization and digitization is actually making it possible. I'll give you one very good example. So if you want a loan and you approach a traditional bank for a loan, so a bank has a template for giving you a loan, and you need to provide certain information and data about you. Without that information, a bank does not consider you worthy of receiving a loan. Now, that information may relate to having a permanent residence address. That information may relate to having a prior credit history. That information may relate to having a particular document, and so many things. Now, what this actually does is, on one hand, it is enabling the bank to go systematically about lending business. On the other hand, in a country like India, the vast for the bottom of the pyramid strata, that gets left out, because they do not have the necessary wherewithal and documentation and necessary credit history and financial history to approach formal financial system. So the new digital platforms which have recently come up, they are utilizing a very unique artificial intelligence based method of arriving at a credit decision. So they look at the non-financial behavior of a person and thereby forecast what will be his financial behavior.
Frankly, I'll agree to the point of the different panelists who spoke that it is actually not new normal. This is, see, the changes are happening. Why I keep on stressing that, we get cozy with the whatever circumstances we have or whatever situations we have. We don't want to come out of that. We want to stay in that comfort zone. And this kind of situation asks us, in fact, forces us to come out of our comfort zone.
The people are sensitized. Everybody at home is sensitized. Students are sensitized. We have been taking online classes. Ma'am was also saying that the same thing.
Yes, sir.
So, and we are organizing online placement drives as well. So we have already organized one placement drive earlier during lockdown, and maybe in the coming days we are organizing placement drives as well for our students.
There are two things. One is called digitalization, one is called digitization. Digitalization often is when you convert your processes to digital, and what we have done during lockdown is that everybody has been forced to digitalize. If you look at digitalization processes, they are on since 1986 when we first started our processes with the railway reservation systems. So this is now almost like 40-year-old system. And we have been a little slow in terms of picking up other things. Some of these speakers talked about the issues related to the skills our recruiters are looking at. If you look at currently, we have started a course on data science, and we assume that data science and data analytics are going to be some of the key things in digitized world. Once you go for digitalization, the next step is you identify whether things have been digitized or not. And I, in my opening remarks, had also said that if you digitize land records, governance becomes easy. And I had said that, the only way we can actually run a country of our proportion, of our size, 1.4 billion people, and a large country with diversity, with different languages, is having a common language, and that is called a digital language. And digital language has its own advantages. So governance can be done best if we are doing something like digitizing more. We need to digitize even more rapidly now. The space has been very, very slow. That is one challenge. We need to reduce digital divide, access to, some of the speakers have talked about, access to digital equipments and other things. Some of the speakers talked about the skill sets required by the teachers. Let me tell you, even if the pedagogies change, even if the medium changes, learning objectives do not change. Where India lags behind as a nation is that we lack people with critical skills. We do not have critical skills in our children, and it takes a very long time once they join organizations
to realize when they lose their job, they realize as to what has gone wrong. So most of the things, digital skills or digital methodologies or whatever systems we use, it's fine. But the best part is that we must not lose track of what we are trying to teach. Our subjects, whatever we teach, should have some critical thinking skill being given to the students. Other things, like for example, if you look at programming and web application, if you look at digital business analysis, if you look at digital project management, if you look at digital product management, if you look at something called social media management, digital marketing, all these things will get a boost post COVID. They have already got a boost. Just see, if a particular video which has been played has even a similar music from a particular website or another website, it can immediately be caught by Facebook servers and they can take an action against it. We may have to represent, we have to change. Now, artificial intelligence, legal aspects, the more we digitize, the more we digitalize, and the more we start using, we would need right legal processes. So if I come back to the challenges, 3 or 4 things which this discussion has brought forward to us is that yes, there's a digital divide and we need to look into it. Yes, there is lack of ICT infrastructure, we need to look into it. Yes, there is a problem of data speed. Yes, there is a problem of bandwidth. Yes, there is a problem of accessible. In fact, most laptop manufacturers and tab manufacturers have raised prices. The only thing which has seen a multiple million kind of sales during this period is digital devices. And they are taking advantage of it. We've of course seen the issue of cybersecurity. One of the major challenges which I wish to point out due to digitalization and digitization is absence of cybersecurity. Recently, we have banned 59 apps from China. It may have some diplomatic angle to it, but let me tell you, most of the apps have an issue. Why does an app in India, in fact, let me tell you, studies have shown if you download an app in Indians downloaded 450 crores approximately apps in 2019. Apps in India, the downloads require, the moment you install it, the largest number of permissions are by apps which are in India. Why do we do it? Why do we seek for so much of permissions? So, there's so many issues related to cybersecurity. We are sitting at a ticking time bomb. Digitalization and digitization in absence of cybersecurity are going to bring this country to a problem, major problem, something which happened 3 years ago, when that artificial lake, 5 years ago, artificial lake burst in Kedarnath. And what is going to happen to the Three Gorges Dam? That's why I would compare this with Three Gorges Dam. If it breaks, Shanghai would be over. And Wuhan province, which already is suffering from this COVID problem, again, Wuhan and Hubei, they have waterlogged streets for last 2-3 days already, Hubei and...
Right, sir.
So, what we need to understand, cybersecurity, availability of infrastructure, and of course, other issues can be, these are 2 major issues, which can, reduction of cost will happen over a period of time. But yes, manufacturers must reduce cost, which is a very important idea to democratize use of digital resources. So thank you very much once again, and let us have such discussions again in future where we can all, contribute from our side whatever we know about digitalization and digitization, its impact on our lives. Thank you.
Well, students are really enjoying the online classes. Every day I look at the face of my students, I see they are quite fresh, they are quite interactive, quite responsive.
Lovely.
And let me tell you that all of them have completed their online summer internship projects, working from home. Quite impressive. We received compliments from almost all the corporations they have worked. That is what is confirming that how this online platform is giving an edge to the students.
Well, the one thing you can expect from Digital India is that it's going to teach you how to expect. It's going to teach you how to embrace. It's also going to teach you how to evolve. Because to address the big D of Digital India, you've got to adopt the 3 Ds. One is it's going to make you democratic. Secondly, it's going to make you dynamic. And thirdly, it's going to make you decisive. Thank you for being a part of this webinar. We'll join up with you again very soon. And of course, don't forget, as I always say, to better educate, to better edumate.
say, when will this be over? I'm sick of being at home. I can't live like this another day. The world can't wait to go, go, go. Tired of binging Netflix, need to go to Starbucks. All we want are things we used to know. Everybody wants to rewind, rewind, rewind. Back to school, back to work, back to grind, grind, grind. But there is just one question that's been on my mind. What was so great about normal anyway? All we did was run round in circles every day. The past is in the past, so before we run straight back to the same old track, maybe it's time to make a new normal. Seems to me it's pretty strange that it took a pandemic to make us less frenetic. Let's just look around and compare. We can zoom from our rooms. Fewer cars are driving. The earth is finally thriving. Why did it take so long to clear the air? Why can't we just unwind, unwind, unwind? If we change some things up, we'll be fine, fine, fine. What would the world be like if we gave it a try? 'Cause what was so great about normal anyway? All we did was run round in circles every day. The past is in the past, so before we run straight back to the same old track, maybe it's time to make a new normal. It's just a state of mind, it's a place and time, a paradigm that's constantly shifting. Don't know about you, but I'm ready for change. After all that's happened, we can't go back to normal anyway. So maybe we can plan a new tomorrow, starting today. Time to let go of the past. Time to take a big step forward, no looking back. Let's go out and create a new normal. Together we all can make a new normal.
Welcome back to Edumate.tv, India's first live TV initiative focusing on higher education. Coming ahead is our very special show, The Vice Chancellor, with Professor Saikat Mehta, Vice Chancellor Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology. An exclusive conversation of insights and inspiration with Chetan Sharma, founder Edumate.tv. Over to Chetan.
Hello and welcome to Edumate.tv. I'm Chetan Sharma. We learn to live and live to learn in what has turned out to be an unprecedented situation, an unprecedented pandemic, with history being written across the geography of Mother Earth. And a minor virus has created a major catastrophe, making each of us rewind, reboot, rethink, reset, reformat before we rebuild a new future, a new normal in the world of education. Particularly in higher education, the one trait required to overcome challenges and provide solutions is the trait of wisdom. Wisdom emanating from past experience and knowledge and wisdom to be able to anticipate, embrace, and evolve with the new future. And that's what makes our wise Chancellor. Well, today we have a very special Vice Chancellor and a guest with us, Professor Shaikot Moitra, who's joining us from Kolkata, and he's heading the Maulana Azad University of Technology. What a pleasure to have you here, sir, with us. It's always good to be connected with the educationists and luminaries like yourself. But of course, the learning experience has been quite unique in this time of pandemic. Tell us your experiences. How have you seen the challenges through for the university, and what have been your unique solutions?
Thank you, Mr. Sharma, for calling me and for giving me an opportunity to share my views at your platform. I will tell from the perspective of professional education, because I am heading a university which is looking after mostly engineering, technology, management, and different professional programs. Employable programs. And what we are seeing that for the last few years, there has been a tremendous change worldwide in the requirement of new skill sets. And because of this technological revolution, which happened probably a few years before, that already disrupted the existing scenario of professional education. Let me be precise about the fact in this way. The new form of the skill requirement which has emerged, for that we were thinking and we were really anxious how to take care of all these new requirements, particularly when industry was changing from a definite pattern to another definite pattern, which we call Industry 4.0, where robotics, artificial intelligence, and all these areas were becoming more and more prominent, where cyber security, data security, and many other disciplines, digital marketing and many other disciplines, e-commerce, which were emerging in the entire world. For that, we are thinking how to revamp and restructure our educational program. And what we are observing that much reliance has to be developed on digital education. Particularly, there are different emerging areas for that we may not have immediately available resource persons. And we have to rely on them for digital platform to take up these types of skills and knowledge from other universities, other countries where this subject has already been developed and where digital resources has been developed in this regard. By 2024-25, the writing on the wall is this: the entire skill set requirement should have been transformed, and that is required for making our young generation more employable. And that's why this COVID situation, probably it has accelerated our, all this endeavor to that direction. In that way, now in COVID situation where physical distancing is the norm, there we have to rely much on our digital platform and digital education. Initially, there was a little bit, this skepticism and little bit, this resistance in the mindset of our, all our stakeholders. How far digital education will be able to meet up the requirement, knowledge requirement of our young students. If you look at the business scenario, the situation is like that. We have to prepare manpower for businesses which are taking place mostly on digital platform, like digital marketing. There is a tremendous upsurge of this new skill set requirement. Therefore, what we are doing right now, we are totally gearing up ourselves for embracing this digital technology to empower our faculties, to empower our students in a remote system, because the students and faculties mostly they are confined at their home. So we are trying to establish this connectivity and encouraging our faculties, all trainers connected with our university systems to adopt and absorb all these digital techniques to the best possible extent, for empowering our students in the form of teaching learning systems. That is true for evaluation also, the assessment and evaluation part. And for that, one of the constraints is maybe the digital infrastructure in pan-India system. This may not be properly available at many places, but this is the obligation of government now.
I'm so encouraged and I'm so enthused by the positivity and the progress with which you've led your thinking and led your team to infuse solutions in this very challenging environment. And I especially congratulate you because universities in areas like Kolkata, where I happen to belong from there, and I know that what an enormous amount of talent actually goes waste or is sub-utilized because of lack of opportunities and lack of relevance. And the fact that you're making yourself relevant, you're making yourself responsive and responsible, is something that's really praiseworthy. And I congratulate you for that, Professor Notra. That having been said, you pointed out two things which caught my attention. First was, of course, the digital connectivity, and we're perhaps looming at another divide in this country, which has been divided on religious, on caste, on creed, on color, on economy. It now has the possibility of seeing a very sinister digital divide, something we cannot afford. I'd like your comment on that. And secondly, very importantly, with employment at a 45, almost a 50-year high, right? You talked about employability, something which we at Edumate.tv actually embraces our mission. We say our mission is educate to employ. It's something that is very welcome. But that becomes insufficient and incomplete in the absence of very strong industry connect. So what are you doing on both accounts?
If you look at the working culture of top giants like TCS, Infosys, and many other IBM, they are advising their people to work from home. That means the culture, this remote working culture, sitting at home, that is becoming more and more prevalent in most of these industries. And the thing is now industry is also supporting, and this is the only option for the industry because there are two. One is this virus-related problems. Another is if you look at in the global context, there is geopolitical. All these problems are prevailing in many places. So what you can do in the form of business, maybe physically moving from one place to another, may not be an easy proposition. Even the virus problem disappears, then also may not be because of these geopolitical conditions and all these constraints that may appear in near future because of this power balance, power equations, all these things. So their more reliance on the digital infrastructure. Question of digital divide means in terms of this interest, in terms of embracing the technology, there is no problem. This is irrespective of caste, creed, and all these things. If you give computer to just I mentioned the hole in the wall experiment. If you give computer to a remotest corners of the village to some people, some children who do not have any access to it, you will see that within a shortest period of time they will be able to handle all these gadgets. But the thing is now we have to give them the access. And that's why I am repeating it again. So it is same for industrialization. If you want this setup in industry at remotest corner, then all the infrastructure like electricity, like road construction, all this is the responsibility of the local government. They have to set up all these things. Now, when people are comfortable in handling all these things, people know how to use these things. For their betterment, now this is the onus of the responsibility. Parallel to physical road construction, digital, this route construction, that should be one of the part of the government mission, and government is working on this direction.
Nothing succeeds like success, Professor Notra, and unless and until you're able to provide employability and convert that into jobs, you will be dissatisfied. So let us know how has been the placement experience with the university.
Placement experience, if you look at this is in the context of the entire country. In engineering education, overall we are saying that 50% placement was happening from campus and rest 50% they were getting placements of their own, attending all these walking interviews and all these things. Now the thing is, there are different ways of getting engagement and employment. There are lots of career options and potential for earning money using internet is emerging. Even using YouTube, our young students, I have seen many students, they are earning a lot using YouTube, using website, these web platforms, creating, these different sorts of, these websites. So there are tremendous, these possibilities and potential is existing in, the digital platforms. And there I have seen, my experiences, many of the students, they are earning. Entirely new sets of professions will be there. And this is being said that by 2030, those professions will be emerging which is there, which are not existing right now. And this time, they will be having these types of professions, and most of these professions which are existing now will be disappearing. That's why, the possibility is enormous. Only thing we have to orient ourselves with the changing scenario. And now this is the time of doing everything with this term coin is called self-learning, self-earning, self-reliance, and many things is appearing there. So even sitting at it, this is one of the advantage of the digital democracy. Right now, you need not to go to US for getting education. Through digital platform, you can have courses from MIT, Stanford, Harvard, and all these things, and you can get certificates from all these universities. Right. So one of the biggest advantage. Number two is you can act as this third party or service provider sitting in the remotest corner of this country. If you have internet connection, you can be a third party or service providers and all these things, because everything is being done on the digital platforms. So therefore, the homogeneity of our society in terms of this migration, this is one of the advantages, migration to the city, and then this heterogeneous distributions of this population. That will be my observation. This in near future, that will be evenly distributed, because people will not feel that urge to migrate to the city, and then this pressure on the city, the level of pollution, this pressure on water, all these things that will be, because if you want to discuss, there is a this different perspective also. As people are migrating more and more cities, so there is pressure on environment, pressure on water, pressure on energy, all these things. So that will be this one of the biggest advantage of digital democracies. That will take care of all these things to make us more uniform.
The disadvantage of having so many options is a problem of plenty. It makes a very difficult choice as well. I mean, for not just the student, but also the selection for the company. Because if you're able to get education from several of the big institutes, right? You can do a 6 months course, you can do a 5-year course. It's but you still have some kind of a certification. It becomes not that easy to be able to distinguish. Maybe that's going to be our upcoming challenge. Do you feel that going forward? Because there will be obviously an oversupply also at some stage.
There is another point. This is the era where people are more focusing on learning, unlearning, and relearning, and lifelong learning. Whatever you are learning from academic institute, and that is sacrosanct, and that will give you dividend for your entire life. This concept we have to give up. Because this is the time where everything is changing so fast, you continuously need to upgrade yourselves. And from where you can upgrade yourselves, only this one of this option only is self-learning. Every time you cannot go to academic institute, leaving your jobs and all these things, because there are 2 points. One is getting jobs, another is retaining jobs. Retaining job is also very difficult. And unless you are not continuously upgrading yourselves, you will not be able to retain your job. There is one of the culture that is a recent phenomena of many of the top-notch these organizations like Google, IBM, Microsoft, Bank of America. They are trying with people who do not have any formal qualification, only seeing whether they have the learning ability and right type of attitudes for learning. That is sufficient enough. The second point is right now it is being said, you have to look at this problem from different perspectives, and that's why you need to engage persons from different backgrounds to give a more holistic solution for any problem. That's why persons from music also, they are getting employments at IT organizations. Right. Even 10 years before, 15 years before, we could not think of it. Persons belonging to history, persons belonging to social science, literatures. Because the new and new areas of problems are appearing, and what are solving these problems. I am seeing regularly subjects like design thinking, subjects like big history, likewise future thinking. Many subjects are emerging, and these subjects are particularly blended subjects. They require these inputs from different areas. Maybe you should have one core subjects, but at the same time some ideas on computer, some this control of your or knowledge of your language, and your core subject. That combination is sufficient enough to make yourself employable, either with an organizations or with yourself. It is very much formidable.
You mentioned the word background 3 or 4 times in your last part, of your of your talk, and it makes me curious about your background because you seem to have such a high sense of progress and positivity. So I need to learn about you. So tell me about your career path, Professor Moitra, and inspire.
It is actually there are two things, because many times people I have seen in many seminars and many places vice chancellors and this top CEO of academic institute, they are being described by their disciplines and what they have, in which area they have done the PhD. You see, it gives the subject bias or myopic vision. And for our case, for persons like us, we have to give some this top view culture, giving importance to each and every subject. So far, my discipline goes, it is I belong to chemical science discipline. But afterwards, I tried to continuously upgrade myself, getting inputs from all courses: humanities, social science, management, philosophy, IT and education, from each and every area. Because I am an avid reader and I am very curious about all this development which is happening. I am equally interested in data science. I am equally interested in historical facts. I am equally interested in digital marketing. At the same time, I am interested in environmental effect. So that's why, and that is required for my profession. This is required. Otherwise, I will not be able to understand the importance of each and every subject. And slowly, I am realizing that each and every subject, they have unique contribution, and all are connected.
Quite remarkable. Your varied interest makes you such an interesting personality yourself, and it inspires so many people. It inspires me for sure, and perhaps I hope it will, and I'm sure it will inspire a lot of our viewers as well. Education often becomes a political subject, but what's important to understand is that since given the nature of unprecedence of the situation, even the governments, whether it's the state or the central governments, have found themselves a little short and a little inconsistent in their decision making, even the Supreme Court for that, or as to how they view the situation. And that seems to have infused some kind of confusion in the entire education ecosphere. Whether you should be scrapping exams or not, when should you start online education, or should you start, what are the ills of it, how should you start, how well prepared are we, when do you go back to physical education, what should be the fee structure, how much should the courses be reduced. A lot has happened. We need to even recognize that those things are happening. But are you satisfied with whatever you've heard so far from all sense of policymakers?
There has been significant change in the entire world, and many things, you see, whatever we have learned at our times, these are if we still boast of all these things that we have done, but this is not so relevant right now. Right now, it is the time to relook at everything from different perspectives. Situation is like this: people are talking about themselves and thinking different things, but technology is so powerful, and it will come like a deluge, and everyone has to surrender before it. And that has happened in the human history time and again. That's why these digital things, technology, and all these things, remote systems, robotics, artificial intelligence, these are going to be a part of our existing systems. And now we have to stay on it.
Yeah, you're right. But what happens is, particularly in a question, in a statement of crisis, in a state of a pandemic, the last thing you want is confusion. What you need is consistency. You see, you could be right or wrong because everybody's learning. But if you're not consistent and you keep confusing, then you create panic. And then you create ambiguity, and that can never be good for anyone. So even the process of evolution has to have the system of taking risks, recognizing those risks, and has to have consistency. That's all my little point was. But since there is confusion, and a lot of it is acceptable and understandable, but not necessarily, it's something that should be there. Every single person in the ecosphere of education finds himself for a need of advice and an opinion. So I'd like Professor Moitra to give his advice to 4 sections of the education ecosphere: the student, the parent, the teacher, and your fellow vice chancellor.
This is the time not to plunge into desperation, but to relook into the horizon of new hope. Because many new things are appearing, and how best we can prepare ourselves for embracing all these new things, there lies our challenge, and that is required for our new, because we are talking about our democratic dividend. We need to empower and and impart proper skill to our new generation, then only we can think of this enlightened India or India at the top these brackets. The thing is now, our new generation, our millennium generation, they are very comfortable. They have high intelligence potential. Only thing they need a proper mentoring and supporting. So far, my understanding goes from technical side, technological side, there are lots of things that can be self-learned. But this mentoring, there is repeatedly it is being said, this not guide this sage on the stage, but guide by the side. So we have to act as guide by the side, because we have to guide them, we have to mentor them, we have to encourage them, inspire them, motivate them, and that is the role of now the teaching community. Learning part, learning all these skills and all these things, that can be done by in a convincing way or formidable way from the digital platform, self-learning mode by all these tools. So we have to create an ecosystem like that. Maybe a skill acquisition from digital platform and the psychological development in contact with the teachers and your and your parents and communities. And in that way, we have to restructure our education systems in the long run. Number one. Number two is everyone should be optimistic. There is in a different period of history, we have seen changes happen, and whenever there is a change, there is a disruptions, new opportunities develops, and how best we can capitalize these opportunities, that we have to look into. And all these infrastructures which are required for these types of skill imparting, and that need to be developed immediately for all the education institutes. That would be the major mandate for all education institutes: physical infrastructure as well as human resource development for making this.
Professor Moitra, you've learned from the old, you continue to learn from the new, and we continue to learn from you. Thank you for being such a wonderful mentor, a guide by the side, as you say, and for being a very worthy and wise chancellor. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. This is a very nice initiative, because I was not quite sure that what actually we are going to do, but when I am seeing all these things, it's very nice initiatives, and we need to continue this practice for development of awareness, because awareness is not that much available in our Indian systems, and there are people like you who are working in developing awareness. Your endeavor needs to be appreciated, and I believe that with all your efforts and all these things, our this community, they will be more aware of all this requirement of future, and that is the wish of all of us, that our future generation, they should be safe, they should be empowered, and they should be able to take the country ahead. And whatever we are doing in that direction, thank you for your effort.
Thanks for watching this live broadcast on Edumate.tv. Stay logged on to www.edumate.tv for all the latest news and analysis from the world of higher education. And do remember, to educate better, you better edumate.